All right, so we got Rodney Childers at the desk, and thought, we didn't have a cup race this past weekend. Be a good opportunity to highlight a little bit of the O'Reilly series. And one of the great additions to junior motorsports this year has been Rodney. And I know I've been, seeing some of the, media out in the past, probably, I don't know, a couple of months, have been quizzing you a little bit about your experience so far. I know you're, hard to do at this table with me and TJ sitting here, but can you give us an honest assessment of, what did you think this was going to be like? What's been some surprises? What's been some good things? What are some things about our operation, I suppose, that are different from what you're used to, or?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was probably one of the odd ones that never bush raced or Xfinity raced, before I went cup racing. So, my whole experience has just been cup racing the whole time. And so really I didn't know what it would be like to go run the O'Reilly series and what the schedules are like and, what's your week flow look like and all those things. And honestly, it's been great. And my experience here has been great too. I really love the atmosphere here and a lot of the things for the last 25 years that you wish would happen, at a race team, and have some luncheons and have an ice cream truck come by and have a beer toast when you win races. I mean, we went through a spell there where we won like 12 cup races in 1 year and we had one luncheon the whole year, and it's like, you always think about those things and the employees and stuff like that. And that's the biggest thing that has stood out to me is just the family atmosphere and the way that the week flows and all those things. And really it's just been perfect timing for me, to be able to come home and be home on Sundays. And my mom's went through a few things and she's in a little nursing home type thing now. So I get to spend Sundays with her and my dad. So just everything's worked out really good.
What about the racing or the garage, the culture in the O'Reilly series? I've always thought that the Cup garage and the O'Reilly garage were completely different. And, the Cup garage is very, very competitive and cutthroat, just from one individual to the next. In the O'Reilly garage, it's very casual, more laid back. At least that's what it was like when I was there as a driver and competing. But, what's the difference in the two series?
A lot of what you just said, honestly. A lot more smiles on faces walking around the garage, that's for sure. And the Cup garage has changed a lot over the last 10 years, the way that you go through tech and you don't have, a big practice. You're not in the garages beside each other, kidding with each other and doing different things throughout the weekend. So that's changed that side of it. But, it's just more relaxed. That part's been a lot of fun for me, just getting to know everybody. And a lot of them are old Cup officials anyway. So I've had good relationships with all of them for a long time. And, in this series, it's still way competitive. It's hard as crap to win races. And, we've definitely figured that out. We've had fast cars, but we need to get in victory lane. And I think once we knock one off the checklist, we'll knock a lot more off.
One of the things that's new for you is working with, young drivers and trying to help, younger drivers, less experienced drivers, establish, kind of some racecraft and all that, and turning them into, champions and winners. Of course, you did work with Josh Berry when he was new to the Cup Series, but most of your career you've been with veterans. You've been with guys who you really didn't have to kind of check up on and hold their hand a little bit, so to speak. But so this has been a bit of a different experience for you, or is it, how's that worked out? You kind of have maybe a different driver in the car every now and then. You don't have the same guy every single week. What are the challenges with that, or what are some of the things you enjoy about that?
It's actually been a lot of fun, and me and TJ kind of have the same task of letting Carson learn certain things every week, but also standing by his side and pointing things out that he could do better. And he spends a lot of time here at the shop. And I mean, yesterday he was here from the beginning to the end of the day. Like he spent all day here. And some of those things remind me a lot of that year of working with Josh. You have just certain things that, ways to communicate, ways to talk about the car. That's probably the things that we talk about the most, is just trying to, narrow down what you're saying, try to pick out the one thing that's going to make you go faster, instead of just, 11 different things that are going on around the racetrack that confuse the crap out of everybody. Do we need to tighten it up, or do we need to free it up? There's only a lot, there's only certain things you can do during the race, and sometimes unhooking the back is the only way to make it turn. That's not the fun part for a driver, but just learning those things, and other things, just having confidence, right? Like I feel like Carson's had just a ton of confidence this year, and he goes out there and he qualifies well. We've had fast cars in practice, fast cars in qualifying. We've been able to race really well and lead laps at Phoenix, and had a dominant car there, and just all those things have been a lot of fun. And then the other side of it with Connor, my first race with him is taking him to Coda, and he's just incredible on those road courses, and sit on the pole and, leading the race. And then we broke a brake rotor and had to kind of ride around the whole second stage until we could replace that. But to watch him drive from 30th back to 4th, before the end of it, was crazy. So I haven't got to do a lot with Connor yet, so hopefully we'll have some fun this weekend at Bristol and learn a little bit more about each other. And we have a lot of races coming up together over the next little bit, so hopefully we can kick that off this weekend on the right start.
Yeah, it's quite a challenge, I think, for you, just as an individual crew chief, to, if things go as planned, you're going to try to race for a championship with Carson in the playoffs, and trying to figure out how to be successful with Connor, have Carson prepped and ready when the playoffs begin, so it's as if y'all had been together the entire season. That's going to be a challenge that I think is going to be interesting to see how that plays out. You as an individual, last question. You as a crew chief, you as a mechanical mind coming into this series, working on these cars, none of this stuff is foreign to you, but you're learning the series, you're learning, what makes these cars tick. If you were filling up a bucket, right? Trying to figure out, trying to find your groove. How full is that bucket? How much more do you get? How much more you think you're gonna pour into there before you feel like you got your master of, trying to make the car work, trying to bring in all the years of experience that you have to prepping your car and going to the racetrack and having all the bells and whistles ready to go so the car is really fast out of the gate?
Yeah, so far I've been really fortunate. Like a lot of the sim tools and the things that I used to look at to, whether it's geometry or shocks or brakes or this or that, like all of it has worked very similar to everything that I was used to. And the things that I thought were good in the past have been good still. And so that's been good for me, is, just to do what you think is right. And like there's been a few times I've went to Bummy and said, what do you think about this or that? And he's like, you just need to do what you think's right. And for me, that's perfect, right? Because if you ever go to the racetrack, and I've been in situations to where you go to the racetrack and right off the get-go, you're unloading the car with something that you don't even believe in, your whole weekend's messed up. Your mind doesn't work right. You don't make good decisions. And So far, I've been super fortunate that the things that I thought would work have worked. And it keeps my mind going, and, I keep, thinking about things the right way and all that kind of stuff. And, we're going to have good weekends and bad weekends. Sometimes we're going to do something that's not going to work, right? But, so far it has, and we're going to continue that. But the rest of it just comes down to just little details, over time, making the cars a little bit better, a little bit lighter, trying to do all those little things, that push you to be better. So, it's different racing in the O'Reilly series. I went for years with SHR with no budget, right? And like we had every gadget and more wind tunnel time than everybody. And that's, one of the things on this side. We have hardly no wind tunnel time. So you're just kind of going off your gut on some things. But I'm still learning every week. Super fortunate. I've got a great race team, and I think this group can go a long way together.
Awesome, man. Well, thanks for giving us some time this morning. I know you're off to the sim to get better, and looking forward to the race this weekend.
Thank you. Appreciate it.